The media is also hitting the angry trans panic angle pretty aggressively because it's not as interesting. It's not as interesting if you look at the actual full body of work here, right? It's dog bites man if it's another neo-Nazi, their family, right? But it's man bites dog if it's a trans neo-Nazi.
This morning, police in Rhode Island are trying to piece together what led to these chaotic moments at a high school hockey game. Video capturing the sound of gunshots at an ice rink.
All right, we're gonna talk about this now. Sorry, I was just looking through. All right, this is probably one of the top news stories that's impacting right-wing Twitter today. We have another very American incident that we are all, unfortunately, all too familiar with. There was a mass shooting that took place at a hockey game yesterday in Rhode Island. And I'm going to go through the details of the situation. I'm going to be covering exactly what took place, and then I'm going to be addressing the misinformation that right-wing media is throwing around. No, this was not an Order of the Nine Angles style mass shooting incident. Okay, and the interesting part about it is that even liberal media is also refusing to cover a very important angle here, a very important angle that makes this shooting not as unique as the way that they are presenting it. Obviously, the person, you will find out, was, I think, trans or a cross-dresser. I'm not entirely sure, especially because there's not really like a lot of coverage on it, or a lot of decent coverage on it. Having said that, however, this was yet another instance of right-wing domestic terror. Okay? Because you will realize very quickly, even when you look at this photo, that the person, regardless of the person wearing a dress in this photo, who is the shooter, has a SS and a totem-cough tattoo. They were a goddamn Nazi. Some of you are actively practicing insanity. Hasan says that the more you complain about something so unnecessarily, the more he will do it. So if you don't like that, okay, dude, he's still talking about the soundboard while we're talking about a shooting that took place. Lock in, okay? That's right. Not only did this person have a Nazi tattoo, they literally were posting MAGA. They were constantly in the replies of all of these like right-wingers. So was Hitler. So what? Not a Marxist. Right of Hitler, actually. Try again. Post-op trans to the right of Hitler. So try again. They were a Nazi that had a higher degree of priority of being a Nazi, in my opinion, than being trans. Okay? And it's not even like their account is readily available on Twitter. And I browsed through the account. They were replying to Nick Fuentes over and over again. They were reposting Alex Jones. All of these right-wing figures, they were all up and down the timeline. Here it is. Roberta Dorgano, also known as T-Girl Cuda. Okay? Their last retweet was James O'Keefe, Thomas Massey, Alex Jones, Marjorie Taylor Greene, numerous other right-wing accounts that they replied to over and over and over again. Okay, I think had mental issues is correct in this case. While posed, of course, this person was mentally ill. They weren't mentally ill because they were a trans person. They were mentally ill because they were a neo-Nazi. The problem here, of course, is that right-wing Twitter, who this person was very much a part of, by the way, very much a part of, is now turning on the shooter, of course, and being like, oh, it's because this is a Nazi. This is not one of ours. This person is not one of ours. Okay? This person had SS tattoos, man. Like, how much more proof do you need? I don't want to misgender the shooter, but I don't know. I mean, I might accidentally do that. I hope people don't get mad at me for this, okay? But the point is, they were absolutely a huge Nick Fuentes fan. For example, if Lindsey Graham went out and did a shooting, would you think that Lindsey Graham's, potential homosexuality would play a role in this? Or do you think Lindsey Graham will be doing a shooting because they're a far-right figure? I don't think anybody would be like, oh, well, there you go, another gay guy doing a shooting. You would go, okay, that's some psychopathic Republican that did a thing, except Lindsey Graham obviously doesn't have a family. That's the point. But of course, a lot of right-wing figures that were firmly a part of this person's community and advocacy work have turned around to say, oh, well, this person was trans. That's why they did it. That's why they did it. Ridiculous. And centrist liberals are also playing along with this, for the record. Let's take a look at how mainstream media is covering the story.
This morning, police in Rhode Island are trying to piece together what led to these chaotic moments at a high school hockey game. Video capturing the sound of gunshots at an ice rink.
We have shots fired, multiple people down at the Rich Arena.
Bystanders racing to safety. Police say the shooter opened fire around 2:30 Monday, 2 people and critically injuring 3 others.
There was one lone suspect, that this was a targeted event. It looked like it was a family dispute.
Overnight, authorities identifying the shooter as Robert Dorgan, who they say also went by Roberta Esposito. Social media posts showing Dorgan discussing getting gender reassignment surgery and recently responding to attacks on a transgender congresswoman, writing, quote, "Do not wonder why we go berserk." Police say,
yeah, the media is also hitting the angry trans panic angle pretty aggressively because it's not as interesting. It's not as interesting if you look at the actual full body of work here, right? It's dog bites man if it's another neo-Nazi, their family, right? But it's man bites dog if it's a trans neo-Nazi who shot their family. Thousands upon thousands of posts talking about 1488, talking about how they're to the right of Adolf Hitler. And what makes the national news coverage interesting for the likes of ABC Today is the fact that they are trans and angry. October 6th, 2025. That's okay. Trump will have his own Rushmore. I call it Trumpmore. My libtard neighbor called Trump a communist. Yes, they vote from 2017. They tortured Trump. Time to even up. May 4th, 2025. Take that, Trump supporters. In 2024, obviously saying that sarcastically. Responding to Alex Jones in January 10th, 2025. Obviously anti-Trump, burning the country down, throwing a hissy fit. July 7th, 2025. Biden gropes every single thing he sees, but Trump's the problem, right? August 27th, 2025. Yeah, but Trump returned before Jesus. Ridiculous. This, in my opinion, is straight up an abdication of duty and responsibility. Of course, you're going to mention that the shooter is trans, right? That's fine. That's understandable. Okay? It's a unique aspect of their background. But the very fact that you do not mention that they're a MAGA Trump supporter and a neo-Nazi means that you're heavily invested in a biased framing that the right is weaponizing right now. At a time when trans people are completely under attack. As a vulnerable population, they've been in the crosshairs of the Republican agenda over and over again. Anytime something happens, remember, we made sure that the weird trans folks, they can't play football anymore. They can't swim anymore. As though that's somehow solving people's material issues. Yeah, they also used to be a pro-Israel. They also used to be pro-Israel, and then they became a full-blown groiper, and probably around the second Trump administration, probably post-October 7. You don't see this shit in Israel because 14-year-old girls carry assault rifles. Fact. October 3rd, 2017. White Christian Israel equals chosen. September 15, 2017. So they were pro-Israel and obviously super pro-MAGA first time around. They kept being super pro-MAGA, became anti-Israel, and became a Nick Fuentes fan. Nick rules. December 24th, 2025. It's unfucking bearable seeing this slanted coverage. It's insane.
It appears the suspect died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, adding authorities retrieved multiple firearms from the scene. They say one person tried to subdue the shooter.
A good Samaritan stepped in and interjected in this scene, and that's probably what led to a swift end of this tragic event.
The gunfire erupted in the middle of a senior night game featuring players from several local high schools, including goalie Olin Lawrence.
At first, it was.
Hold on, it's effing again. I have to wait this out real quick. Server timed out, disconnected. Oh, buddy. Oh, brother. All right, we're back, I think. I think it's reconnecting now. Okay, small F saved. All right, good. Because I can't tell how bad the disconnection is on my end. It looks like it completely went out. Okay, it was only a mini one. Okay, on my end, it looked much more devastating.
Olin Lawrence.
At first, it was like bop bop, and I thought it was balloons, but it just kept going, and it was actually gunshots.
As chaos erupted in the stands.
Me and my teammates ran right to the locker room. We pressed against the door and just tried to stay safe down in there.
Just over 2 months after a mass shooting at Brown University killed 2 students and injured 9. Rhode Island's Governor Dan McKee saying, "Our state is grieving again."
What are the odds of the person faked being an aside, either pretending to be trans or pretending to be a Nazi? I think the odds of both are incredibly low. I think this person was most likely, questioning their sexuality and their gender, because they kept saying post-op. Okay, so and also they are definitely a Nazi. They had a fucking SS tattoo. Okay, not just the Totenkopf tattoo, but an SS double lightning bolt underneath the Totenkopf. That person is 100% a fucking neo-Nazi. I mean, it's crazy. So they were very likely both trans and also a Nazi. And for the record, this is not unique. Ironically enough, right-wing media talks about transgender mass shooters, and so does liberal media every now and then, right? Almost every single trans shooter, both the one in Canada and the trans shooters in the United States of America, have been neo-Nazi Groyper trans shooters. The problem is most people don't look into it beyond transgender shooter. They go, oh, this person is a transgender shooter. That's it. It's actually the most common type of shooter. If you were to look at the ideological breakdown of mass shootings and school shootings, you will find that the overwhelming majority, if not damn near entirety, of mass shootings and school shootings that have taken place are conducted by even black people at times, which is unique, right? It's still a black white supremacist, a Groyper, a neo-Nazi. There was a female shooter, a school shooter. Again, unique demographic, because the overwhelming majority of school shooters and mass shooters are white men, straight white men, cisgender white men. And yet what's not unique about all of these different demographic backgrounds of shooters is the fact that they are Groyper neo-Nazis. It's people that actually go to these forums, become red-pilled, become black-pilled. They go to Telegram groups called Terrorgram in certain instances. This person obviously doesn't fit that profile. He's too old to be a part of that network. But in any case, very clearly, a person that went through that same pathway of radicalization, their transness is secondary to the fact that they are, once again, just like the overwhelming majority of these mass shooters and school shooters, a fucking neo-Nazi white supremacist. But because most people have deluded themselves into this false notion that, like, transgenders are responsible for all of these fucking shootings or whatever, they don't even understand. They don't even realize that this is more common than they fucking think.
Never thought that something like this would happen, especially with kids involved. It's something I can't really wrap my head around.
And Pawtucket police say the shooter was attending the hockey game to watch a family member. A woman who identified herself as the daughter of the suspect to other local media said, quote, "He shot my family and was very sick with mental health issues. Local, state, and federal authorities, including the FBI, now on the ground and investigating exactly what happened." Craig and Hoda.
Emily Aketa-Force there in Rhode Island. Em, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning.
It's so crazy that the mainstream news is literally doing the mentally ill trans person narrative. Like, it's crazy how far we have fucking fallen.
An investigation.
It's crazy how far we have fucking fallen, dude. It is wild. This so close, by the way, to the MAGA guy in Texas that shot and killed his own daughter. Another MAGA dad. The fact that the very same people that were in the same spheres, trafficking in the same narratives as this shooter, are now once again turning around and saying, oh my God, this is because they're a woke transgender, is fucking crazy. Okay? The only reason why they can get away with it, however, is because liberals allow them to get away with it. Mainstream media allows them to get away with it. Mainstream media allows them to get away with it by hyper-focusing on the transgender part of this person's identity. 14 seconds this time. Just hold the line. We're gonna get through it on the other side in a brief moment. It is what it is. Unfortunately, this is it's cutting in and out. No matter what happens, it's worse than before. Small latency dip, but coming back. Yeah, if you lower the latency on your end, if you lower the quality on your end, I'm pretty sure you can overcome the fucking Fs. But the delay will be fixed in a moment too. We're good now. I think we're on the other side. Okay, it might go out again, just so you know. But yeah, even this person, Matt Von Swole, right? Like, this person is like a tech guy who is super far right now. And he says, I have lost the will to be tolerant of dangerous mental illness patients walking the streets of America and pretending it is normal. It is not normal, nor is it kind. It is cruel for future victims of their violence and cruel to the mentally ill to indulge in their delusions. This fucking post prominently features this person's SS tattoos. To which I replied with, I agree. Some MAGA people are dangerously and violently mentally ill and they need to get the proper health care before they snap. Right? Oh my God. Oh my God. It's fucking, my internet is so bad. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for it to come back. It blows my mind that there is a pattern that plays itself out over and over again that is so consistent in what kind of radicalization, what kind of mental illness leads to like violent incidents. And it's almost always far-right neo-Nazi behavior, far-right neo-Nazi radicalization. And yet, it's not your internet, dude. It is 100% my internet. The cutout isn't obviously because of your connection. It's Twitch and Amazon server issue. There's nothing anyone but Twitch can do about it. You're not 100% wrong. You're 100% wrong. I know for a fact that it's my internet because I'm getting literal warnings from my internet right now. Ugh, God, I hate this. I hate it because then it's like the conversation revolves around like, oh, it's your internet. It's not your internet. It's Twitch. It's this. It's that. I know what it is. It's my ISP. There's nothing we can do about it, okay? There's nothing we can do about it. It literally starts as soon as I start live streaming, okay? Come on. We're going to get through it. I'm going to get through it. I'm not going to lose my fucking shit. I'm not going to lose my fucking shit. I'm not going to lose my mind. Calm down. Stop bringing it up. Nobody really cares. Brother, are you aware of the chat? Are you seeing the chat? Nobody cares. It's the only thing people care about. It's literally the only thing chatters are talking about in the chat. Anytime there's a minor or major crash, not only does chat lose their fucking minds, but also on top of that, everyone starts rolling in with their suggestions. Backseat IT specialists. It's 100% the same exact issue that persists with my internet service provider that clearly did not fucking weatherproof the internet. Oh God. Oh my God, it's going in and out again. And then people go, you should move to New York. You should game more. Okay. I'm gonna keep pushing through. All right. As I was saying, another far-right neo-Nazi does the family annihilator move, as they're known to do, and instantly the very same people they retweeted are talking about trans identity. Also, to every shameless centrist floating trans disapproval polls right now, you disgust me as much as the right-wing freaks do. Because there's the other side of the story, the normalization of this kind of sentiment. Liberals could approach the story and go, here we go, another MAGA neo-Nazi piece of shit that did the unthinkable. The unthinkable that is unfortunately all too common. A person who very clearly is in the Trump cult doing what people in the Trump cult do. Behave in an incredibly unstable and insane way. And yet, I saw, what's the fucking guy's name? That centrist pollster, he blocked me. That centrist pollster who turned around and instantly, turned around and claimed that, this is a good time to bring up the trans disapproval ratings in the country. Okay. Does anyone have the link for that? It was insane to me. Not Nate Lead, not CN liberalism. Lakshai Jain was the one who put it out. But I don't know if other people are also promoting it now. I'm sure it's gaining a lot of fucking momentum. Yeah, the trans rights backlash is extremely real and very worrying for progressives. This is literally hours after people found out that the shooter was trans. Immediately, this fucking dickhead. The trans rights backlash is extremely real and very worrying for progressives. The public is aligned with conservatives on several issues like sports, restrooms, and minors' access to care. It is possibly the worst issue for progressives if it's ever polled. Here's an example of how much ground progressives have lost on trans issues. In 2016, Dems won North Carolina on the back of the bathroom bills backlash. Those bills were quite unpopular in 2017. They are now 20 points above water. 52% for, 33% against. Imagine a self-described liberal centrist pollster coming out and being like, guys, Democrats have to drop this black rights advocacy. Sorry. Another black person engaged in a fucking mass shooting. We just got to drop this. It's underwater. Like, think about how fucking psychotic that is. And unfortunately, you don't even have to think about that hypothetical, because given the penchant for centrist Democrats and establishment Democrats and the consultancy orbit that revolves around the Democratic Party apparatus, they might start saying that shit too. It's all a matter of how little advocacy work they engage in. It is the most psychotic thing to do this. The most psychotic thing to do this. It is so transparent what this fucking asshole is doing. They did this with immigration. They did this with trans people. They're still doing it with fucking trans people. It blows my mind. Okay? The idea that like a singular representative is representative of the broadest pattern, that this actually has to stop defending trans people, because that's the point here. The point that Lakshya Jain is making here is cut it with this trans shit. Put him on the chopping block. No more advocacy for trans people. We can't do that. No more transgender advocacy. These guys are too violent, or at the very least, the approach by the masses is that they're violent, that they're weird, that they have to be cut out from the public conversation. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous for two different reasons. Number one, if you claim that you're also no longer on board with trans people, you're not actually going to win any voters doing that. All you will do is normalize the anti-trans rhetoric, as Democrats have done. The polls shifting from being overtly pro-transgender rights to anti-trans is a direct byproduct of the Democrats' lack of interest in addressing this issue at all. That's number one. So it's already bad politics, because what comes after the sequence of anti-trans, trans-panic narratives is obviously anti-trans bills and a normalization of the claim that trans people are outsiders that no one should be protecting, and the bills that come along with that, not allowing trans people to get like the proper medical care, for example, right? That's number one. Number two, you must look at the polls on the trans issue in 2017. Why was it that the public actually favored pro-trans rights back then? Perhaps it was because Democrats did not shy away from doing advocacy work. They didn't worry about leading on this issue. And that's precisely the reason why the issue was bad for the Republicans. The lesson to learn from this is not to concede on some of these culture war narratives, because concessions on these culture war narratives allow the Republicans to win on these culture war narratives, and they don't stop. It's not like the Republicans turn around and go, see, the Democrats actually don't care about trans people anymore. I guess we will be more normal about their trans advocacy. No, they just keep saying all you care about is trans people anyway, okay? And this is not just about trans people, which are less than 1% of the fucking population. This is about every issue that the Democrats cede territory on. This is about undocumented migrants. This is about migrants in general. This is about white supremacy. This is about anti-blackness. This is about every single issue that the Democrats lose territory on to the Republicans because they don't counter message at all. They are not invested in advocacy work. They're not invested, and they consistently take a defensive posture, and that's why they consistently fucking lose. They look spineless. They look hypocritical. They look like they were caught with their fucking pants down. No one truly believed that Kamala Harris was going to, for example, lead the most lethal military. They just saw it as, oh, Kamala Harris is going to do more wars. Perhaps we should vote for the anti-war candidate, Donald Trump. This was ridiculous, right? It's not like Donald Trump was a fucking anti-war candidate. But he was at least smart enough to present himself as such when Kamala Harris was saying, no, we're going to do more war. Same thing goes for building the wall, for example. Democrats spent a good deal of time attacking the Republicans on their immigration strategy, their anti-immigrant sentiment. They won on a pro-migration agenda. Joe Biden won in 2020, directly attacking Donald Trump's cruel and ruthless white nativist policies. By 2024, they had completely conceded on the immigration agenda. People didn't forget that Democrats were pro-immigration, but now that the Democrats were saying, no, we are the real anti-immigration party, we're just going to do it in a reasonable way, people heard that and thought, oh, you're a fucking hypocrite. Running scared is the problem here. Democrats consistently run scared. And then they have an entire communications apparatus and consultant structure that tells them they must run scared. They keep telling the Democratic Party, the establishment Democrats, that they must run scared, that they must concede on these issues. They do not have to concede on these issues at all. The other side of the story that is also endlessly frustrating, and this is something that I talked about with respect to Kamala Harris's campaign and why it was inevitably going to lead to a loss, most likely that it was a dangerous gamble over and over again. But the other side of the story is also what the Democrats don't run for. The Democrats don't run for things. They run against things. Okay? They run against the Republican Party. Do that, and when you run scared and you become the diet, watered-down version of what the Republicans are offering, of course people are going to end up voting for the Republican Party, the real thing anyway. If the Democrats ran for things like health care for all, like an adequate housing policy that revolves around building housing units and even social housing units, right? Government-funded housing units. If Democrats ran on free college education for all, universal policies, then the Republicans would not fucking have the opportunity to turn around and be like, well, I know they want to give you health care, but also they want to give trans people health care too. That's a far better strategy that would also protect trans people, because the conversation would shift away from whether or not the Republicans want to kill all trans people and the Democrats want to kill 50% of trans people, to Democrats want to give you health care. Republicans care about silly shit. They care about 1% of the population. What are you, fucking crazy? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? It is that simple. Democrats need to do away with this running scared narrative, okay? It's not good politics and it's not good policy. All it ends up doing is actually normalize the right-wing attitude on every issue. It doesn't win a single damn vote from the other side. And it makes the independents in the middle, and it makes the Democrats in your base think, okay, maybe the Republicans were right on this issue. It doesn't make them think, you guys have a reasonable approach. It makes the unreasonable approach that is championed by the Republicans look reasonable. And when the option is the diet watered down version of fascism versus the full thing, the real full strength fascism, people go, okay, if that's the reasonable approach and my Democrats that I voted for are telling me that's the reasonable approach, maybe Trump is not so crazy with this stuff. That's it. If the Democrats ran on healthcare, the conversation surrounding transgender athletes participating in high school swim meets would look fucking stupid. Which one is a better argument? We're going to give everybody health care. We're going to give everybody housing. You don't need to worry about shelter. You don't need to worry about upward social mobility. We're going to offer that to you. Or constantly talking about whether or not 14-year-olds can participate, self-identifying transgender 14-year-olds can participate in fucking high school swim meets. Which one do you think is a better, more reliable message? Republicans would look like silly, perverted fucking weirdos constantly thinking about children's genitals if the Democratic alternative coming from the Democratic Party was, we care about fixing some of your material problems. But the Democrats don't do that because they're the fucking controlled opposition party. Do you understand? The pathway to protecting our trans allies, our trans brothers and sisters, our neighbors, also revolves around class-first politics and class-first advocacy, universal programs. Because every moment that you spend defending universality in these sorts of programs is a moment where the Republicans have to attack that, force them to position themselves against the idea that you deserve health care, force them to position the Republicans against the idea that you don't actually deserve to have a federal jobs guarantee. Enough with this fucking running scared narrative. That's it. That's it. These guys don't understand why the public used to be a lot more favorable to the progressive view on trans rights. Because back then, at the very least, the Democrats tried to advocate for trans people a little bit. Asman is saying trans people should be removed from population by being hospitalized. Asmongold and his followers, I would say, should be removed from the population by being hospitalized, but they don't need to, actually. I don't need to do that advocacy at all because they never go outside anyway, and most of them are in Europe regardless. So we don't have to worry about those guys at all. All they do is chirp, chirp, chirp online. They don't exist in the fucking real world. A week ago, many doubted this statement of yours. Today, libs are already caving to trans terrorism propaganda because they think that's the way to go. You're yelling at one of the few... Yeah, the very same people. I want to see what they're saying about trans people now, by the way. I want to see what guys like this who called me out are saying now. Because we got one example, Trey Easton, who had a lot to say. Trey Easton, that fucking ogre's staffer, Trey Easton, John Fetterman's staffer, Trey Easton, had a lot to say about my takes on the Democrats writing out trans people from the equation because they are running scared. Trey Easton, only a week after yelling at me for sharing that sentiment, proves the sentiment itself. I think about this specific development a lot. Yes, the right worked hard to raise salience and villainize trans people, but this sort of sea change isn't just the result of a focused propaganda campaign. We lost people, and how we try to get them back matters. Hasn't been a fucking week. Hasn't been a full week. What happened? This is what I said a week ago. And they clipped it, and they shared it widely. You're yelling at one of the few people that does give a fuck about trans people in general, okay? That's all you're doing. Democrats don't give a fuck about you. They would literally shoot you in the fucking head if it meant that they would be able to secure additional electoral wins. Shut the fuck up. Bro is using this tragedy as a gotcha moment. You think this is only a gotcha moment because the very same people that yelled at me for this take are now doing the exact same thing that I was talking about. Okay? You fucking moron. The only reason why you're chirping right now is because you feel at least a shred of embarrassment. I don't want this to be a gotcha moment, you fucking idiot. I want this to be a moment where you recognize you are literally seeing it happen in less than 7 fucking days. It hasn't been 7 fucking days. It's been 6 days. How else can I use this moment to educate people? How else can I use this moment to show you that the Democrats don't even have to do this. They're just telling you that they have to do this, and you're falling for it. 36,000 likes.
Hey, in 2.5 years from now for lunch, do you want to have a piss sandwich or a poop milkshake? Are those my only options for lunch that day? Yes. Ideally, I'd like to have some better options by then. Ah! This man hates democracy. Hey, in 2.5 years from now for lunch, do you want to have a piss sandwich or a poop milk?
It blows my mind that the people on the one hand are doing this advocacy, while on the other hand, like they are literally fulfilling exactly the promise that I delivered, which was that centrist Democrats at the first sign of friction will fucking sell off trans people and then try to sell it to you as though this is a electoral mechanism that works. This is an electoral strategy that fucking works when it clearly didn't work. It's not like Kamala Harris was running around talking about trans people. They didn't even have a fucking trans speaker at the DNC. These sorts of things, these sorts of aesthetic points matter, right? Kamala Harris didn't have a single trans person speak at the DNC. Kamala Harris didn't have a single Palestinian person speak at the DNC. They were very actively writing out trans people. They were actively writing out undocumented migrants from the equation, migrants from the equation in general. They were writing out Palestinians from the equation. And those who cared about those sorts of things, they were saying, like, this is how we're going to win. This is how we're going to win. And they fucking lost. If they had won, at least they could have a totally different conversation. If Kamala Harris was president right now, I'd still obviously be criticizing her. I'd be saying, look, you wrote out trans people, you wrote out Palestinians, you wrote out undocumented migrants and migrants alike. That was a disastrous policy, specifically because now you're advancing the same cruel measures. Because I care about the people. I care about the policies. I don't care about a fucking D victory over an R victory. I care about what that impact is. I care about the impact of said victory. It blows my mind that people are turning around and fucking like very 6 days after yelling at me saying, how dare you say the Democrats would sell off, Democrats would write off trans people, are literally in the process of writing off trans people once again at a moment where the media narrative could just as easily be around this shooter's MAGA and neo-Nazi identity rather than the fact that they are also trans. It blows my fucking mind that these guys are just like immediately rushing to say, no, this was a weirdo trans guy. And as Democrats, we don't fuck with trans people either. That's not going to make people vote for you, you fucking idiot. That's not going to make people vote for you. It's going to make you look like a fucking hypocrite because you are. You're a goddamn hypocrite. You don't care about anything. You don't even want to win. It's like 99% of fucking mass shooters and school shooters are all neo-Nazi groypers. And the one time or the two times that there's a trans shooter, there's still a fucking neo-Nazi groyper. But everybody goes, oh, well, there it is again. The trans are acting out. It's fucking ridiculous. If a dude has a whole ass totem cough and double lightning bolt SS tattoo on their arm, but they're also wearing a dress and you focus on the dress, that's on you. That's on you, brother. It's fucking ridiculous. How many times do I have to make this argument over and over again? That's crazy. If Nick Fuentes grabbed a weapon and did a fucking school shooting, would you go, oh, he did this school shooting because he's gay and Mexican? Or would you say he did the school shooting because they're a fucking neo-Nazi? Pretty sure you would go, that's a neo-Nazi. In this hypothetical. I'm not saying he's going to do that. His fans certainly seem to do it, though. Like this last trans neo-Nazi who did. Hasan Piker claims trans people wouldn't be safer under a Kamala Harris presidency. I didn't even say that. Professional misunderstanders, by the way. It's not what I said. I said Democrats have a tendency to write off. Democrats have a fucking tendency to write off marginalized identities and marginalized communities because they think it's electorally beneficial. When in fact, it's not electorally beneficial. It's going to take many of us getting lynched for Dems to have a pussy-ass lukewarm take. Anyway. Trans neo-Nazi MAGA Nick Fuentes supporter doing a mass shooting for them to immediately prove the point I was up with these idiotic I wouldn't have said it quite like that, but they're not wrong. Who's not wrong? I told you that your argument was basically a turf one. What is this? 99.9% of fucking school shootings are done by, or mass shootings are done by fucking cisgender, heterosexual white men who are right-wing as fuck, who are neo-Nazis. The one time as a trans person, everybody goes, oh, this is how the transgenders are. You're a fucking psycho. Okay? You're a fucking psycho. You're an insane person. It is completely fucking ridiculous. Okay? I'm not, I was reading whatever the chatter was talking to another chatter. The turf thing was the turf thing was just about, an inside conversation that became an outside one because I read it. The chatter wasn't implying that I was making a turf opinion. They were saying another chatter was. Don't listen to that. Don't focus on that. Anyway, it's also crazy because this is a sequence of more MAGA dads. A MAGA dad killed his wife and shot his daughter over a football game. Why is MAGA so violent? A Florida MAGA man, Jason Kenney, killed his wife and shot his 13-year-old stepdaughter over an NFL game. Okay? A father killed his own daughter because of an argument over Trump. Don't argue with MAGA. Write these bastards off. They've left the reservation never to return. They said it was a misfire. Here's that story. A British woman shot by her father in prosper over Trump argument.
In the UK just wrapped up, concluding the death of a British citizen here in North Texas was unlawful.
Lucy Harrison was shot in the chest. It happened in January of 2025. Her father told police his gun accidentally fired and hit her. The Collin County DA's office declined to comment on the case, but there were no charges. Fox 4's Amelia Jones has more on the case, making headlines here and abroad. Amelia.
Heather Casey, gun laws in the U.S., specifically here in Texas, are very different from England. In regard to the police investigation, no criminal charges were filed and no arrests were made. However, since the victim was a UK citizen, she's entitled to an investigation according to the law in England and Wales. In the UK report released this week, based off of the evidence that report found 23-year-old Lucy Harrison's death an unlawful killing. In January 2025, 23-year-old Lucy Harrison came to visit her dad in Prosper. The UK native never returned home. She was shot in the chest inside her father's home and died at the hospital.
Okay.
Body camera footage shows what her father, Chris Harrison, told Prosper police that day.
Getting ready to go to the airport and we were talking about guns, and she said, "You got a gun?" I said, "Yes." I got it out and it just went off as she stood there. As I pulled it out, it went off.
The Prosper Police Department told Fox 4.
Of course, this is not illegal. This is the most Texas story of all time. He's not even being punished for it. It was fucking crazy.
After it completed its investigation, it sent it to the Collin County District Attorney's Office for further review. A grand jury
They had argued. She went to leave. He called her into his room and shot her. He claimed he was showing her his gun.
Issued a no bill on the case. No arrests were made and no charges were filed. But overseas...
Is that guy getting deported or what? No, brother. He's a patriot. He's a fucking patriotic individual, a patriotic style individual. What do you mean? The ultimate sacrifice. Another fucking MAGA family annihilator, by the way. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, it seems. Even British ones. This is what I mean when I say American culture is about killing your family members, okay? American culture is gun, burger, murdering your fucking family members. That's what it is. It doesn't matter. You could be trans and do it. You could be Asian and do it. There was an Asian mass shooter. There were two, actually. You could be black and still be a white supremacist and do a school shooting. You could be a young girl, a teenage girl, and do a school shooting and still it comes out that you're fucking a groiper. It's just the most American thing. What's more likely? Looking at statistical analysis, the likelihood that you are engaging in a school shooting goes up a lot higher when you find out that you're fucking far right.
A coroner's office was also conducting an inquest, a sort of fact-finding process, into the death of Lucy Harrison since she was a citizen of the UK. The report released Wednesday raised concerns about his alcohol use that day and said he took no steps to even familiarize himself with the weapon to enable him to check it was safe. The coroner concluded her death was a tragic accident, but also unlawful.
They specifically say that they are applying the laws of England. And so, it's kind of like if this event were to happen there, then the outcome may be different.
Russell Wilson is a former Dallas County prosecutor. He notes accidental deaths are prosecuted on a case-by-case basis, and not all result in criminal charges.
Regardless, the person responsible has to live with the consequences of their actions, whether they're labeled.
We're a nation of laws, brother. And in this goddamn nation of laws, what is this? Treating tattoos like a $1 game cosmetics? Oh, the coworker take. Yeah, I know. And in this here United States, one of the laws of the land is if you are shooting your daughter, you have your God-given right to do so.
Criminal or civil or nothing at all.
Texan laws on guns are so different to England.
Lucy Harrison's mother addressed the press after the coroner's inquest was released.
It results in too many deaths in the USA. Furthermore, it is mine and Sam's strongly held view that the US investigation led by the Prosper Police Department lacked the rigour and scrutiny you'd expect if this had happened in the UK. Lucy deserved better.
In our conversation, Russell Wilson said it's unlikely that the UK will pursue a criminal trial because the shooting happened here on U.S. soil, and it is the local law enforcement that takes the lead in terms of prosecution. However, the case can move forward in the civil courts, and civil lawsuits can be filed. We did reach out to Chris Harrison for any comment or statement, but we have not heard back.
Don't quote me, but in the article I read, he said some weird shit about his other daughters. That's why she got mad. This guy would have been immediately locked up if he was black. I mean, yeah, it's a nation of laws, baby. That's how it is. Dad shot daughter after arguing about Donald Trump. Now, the reason why this became news in the UK is because this happened on the 10th of January in 2025, last year. So why is it a news story in the BBC this year, 7 days ago? It's because it was such a normal incident from Texas standards that he's been walking freely since last year, since he did this. The only reason why this became a matter of national news in England is because there is a civil proceeding taking place right now. A British woman who was shot dead by her father while visiting his home in Texas had argued with him about U.S. President Donald Trump earlier that day. Lucy Harrison from Warrington in Cheshire was shot in the chest on the 10th of January in 2025 in Prosper, near Dallas. Police in the town investigated the 23-year-old's death as a possible manslaughter, but no criminal case was brought against Chris Harrison after a grand jury in Collin County declined to indict him. An inquest into Lucy Harrison's death opened earlier at the Cheshire Coroner's Court, where her boyfriend Sam Litter described the big argument about Trump, who was preparing to be inaugurated for his second term in office. Littler, who traveled to the U.S. with Lucy Harrison for the holiday, said she would often become upset with her father when he spoke about owning a gun. The inquest also heard how Chris Harrison, when his daughter was a child, had previously been in rehab for alcohol addiction. Chris Harrison, who did not attend the inquest, admitted in a statement sent to the court that he had relapsed on the day of the shooting and had drunk about 500 milliliters of white wine. Littler said on the morning of the 10th of January, his partner had asked her father during the Trump row, "How would you feel if I was the girl in that situation and I'd been sexually assaulted?" Chris Harrison had replied that the two other daughters who live with him, so it would not upset him that much. We're a fucking shithole country, bro. I mean, no other way around it. Like, straight up, we are not a nation of laws at all. We are a fucking shithole country. Littler said Lucy became quite upset and ran upstairs. He told the court that later that day, about half an hour before they were due to leave to go to the airport, Lucy had been in the kitchen when her father took her by hand and led her into his ground floor bedroom. She was supposed to leave. He forced her into his bedroom and shot and killed her. Littler said he heard a loud bang about 15 seconds later, and then Chris Harrison screamed for his wife, Heather. Littler said, "I remember running into the room and Lucy was lying on the floor near the entrance of the bathroom and Chris was just screaming, just sort of nonsense." The statement from Chris Harrison said he and his daughter had been watching a news item on gun crime when he told her that he had a gun and asked her if she wanted to see it. They went into the bedroom so he could show her a Glock 9mm semi-automatic handgun, which he kept in the bedside cabinet. Harrison said he bought a gun a couple years before because he wanted a sense of security for his family. He denied ever discussing it with his daughter before. He said, "As I lifted the gun to show her, I suddenly heard a loud bang. I did not understand what had happened. Lucy immediately fell." Harrison said he could not recall whether his finger was on the trigger. I wrote a whole long thread on this and people commented saying they live in this county and had never even heard of it. They had no clue. He also lied to the cops initially and said he hadn't been drinking. According to the boyfriend's testimony, Lucy had previously expressed concern over her father having a gun. In the body cam footage that was released yesterday, the dad tells the cops, "She asked if I have a gun, so I went to show her." He acknowledged he had issues with alcohol in the past and said he briefly lapsed on the day of his daughter's death because he was emotional about her leaving. The inquest heard police officer Luciana Escalera, whose evidence was read, noticed the smell of alcohol on Harrison's breath when he was called to the house after the shooting. CCTV footage showed he had bought 2 500 milliliter cartons of Chardonnay from 7-Eleven store shortly before that day. Anna Samuel, representing Chris Harrison, made an application at the start of the hearing for coroner Jacqueline Devonish to recuse herself from the case, saying a fair-minded observer may conclude there was a real possibility she was biased. She said the inquest had been conducted in a manner more akin to a criminal investigation than a fact-finding inquiry. Lewis Norris, representing Lucy Harrison's mother, Jane Coates, said the application was an ambush by Mr. Harrison's legal team. She said Chris Harrison was the person in the room who shot Miss Harrison and the only person in the room when it happened. Devonish refused the application to recuse herself. In a statement issued by his solicitors, Chris Harrison said he fully accepted the consequences of his actions. There isn't a day I don't feel the weight of that loss, a weight I will carry for the rest of my life, he said. Coates said her daughter, who worked as a buyer for a fashion brand Boohoo, was a real force of life. It adds up, though. Prosper, Texas is a ghost town filled with model homes, affluent areas, so the cops probably thought nothing of it. I'm sure. Yeah. The reason this story is making headlines in the British press is because Lucy Harrison's death is currently being investigated by Cheshire Coroner's Court in England, where she lived. Last January, Lucy was shot dead by her father, Chris Harrison, at his home in Texas, but a grand jury in Collin County declined to indict him, so no criminal case was brought. He has been walking freely since. According to her boyfriend, who had traveled with her to the U.S., Lucy and her father had gotten into an argument the day over Donald Trump. On the morning of the shooting, Littler said Lucy had asked her father, "How would you feel if I was the girl in the situation I'd been sexually assaulted?" while they were discussing Trump. Chris responded that he had 2 other daughters living in their home, so it would not upset him very much, saying, like, "I don't care about you. I have 2 extra daughters." Littler recalled that Lucy grew quite upset with that response and went upstairs. Lucy would often become upset when her father talked about owning a gun, as in she already knew that he had a gun. So when he said to the cops the day of, which there's body camera footage of for the record, I don't know if we have it right now. Can someone send me the body camera footage from that day? Because his response was, oh, she didn't know I had a gun, so I wanted to show that I had a gun. She already knew he had a gun. So the testimony from the other witness actually undermines the argument or the firsthand account of the perpetrator, the dad. Body camera footage captured the moment Texas police arrived at the home of a British man who fatally shot his daughter after they got into an argument about President Donald Trump.
She was just about to go to the airport.
Who is she to y'all?
That's our daughter. Okay. It's my daughter.
Okay.
And we were getting ready to go to the airport and we were talking about guns. And she said, "You got a gun?" I said, "Yes." I got it out and it just went off as she stood there. As I pulled it out, it went off.
Okay.
It must have been, obviously.
Did you put the gun on the bed?
I put it on the bed straight away, yeah.
Where was it at?
It was in the bedside cabinet.
Okay, you have like a little, you just keep it in there?
In a locked box. Okay. And we took it out to look. And
I think he was drunk and he was angry and he absolutely fucking shot her, like, on purpose. The very fact that she knew that he already had a gun, according to the boyfriend's testimony, implies that this wasn't like the first time, right? The very fact that she was ready to leave and he actually led her by hand to his basement bedroom to show the gun when she wanted to leave, once again, shows that there is a level of premeditation. The testimony from the officers on scene also imply that he was drunk still. Like he was, they could smell alcohol in his breath.
As I picked it up, it went off.
Okay. Ma'am, I'll have you step over here and we'll all come over here. Okay. Are they involved?
Can he go or somebody go?
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. I got you. Yep. Here, I just want to, so if they have to come out, because there's like 9.
They're about to go back to England, so she's not
She's not going there.
Okay.
She's not going now.
Okay, boyfriend. Okay.
Baylor Spot White, please, here at McKinney All
Yep, we got it. More than likely, honestly, she's probably going to go to Plano. Based on the injury. It'll be THR Plano. Okay. More than likely. I'll tell you here shortly.
Do you know if she's breathing or?
I'm not 100% sure. Okay. So.
If I shot one of my children on accident, I would absolutely be destroyed. This dude is way too fucking calm. Yeah, because he's drunk. Anyway, so yeah, that's the story. A story, unfortunately, that's all too fucking common, which is why it blows my mind when people look at yet another incident of a MAGA family annihilator and go, oh, it's because they were trans. They were a fucking neo-Nazi. Who has a higher percentage? Who has a higher likelihood of doing a mass shooting or a school shooting or engaging in a violent altercation? Far-right neo-Nazis or trans people? The answer is far-right neo-Nazis. It's fucking ridiculous. They make up a large share of domestic terror incidents in this country, and yet our media rarely ever covers it as such. When they used to cover it like that back in the early 2016, 2017 era, Republicans made a big fuss about it. The Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice conducted separate investigations into politically charged instances of violence. Both of them found that it was actually infinitely more likely that someone would be a far-right domestic terrorist than a far-left domestic terrorist. Trump's own Department of Justice deleted that FBI investigation from its website last year. I'm not saying this to be like, oh, you know, all white men are bad and evil and are inevitably going to kill their families, by the way. I'm not making that argument at all. I'm saying that if you were to look at demographics, though, there is one demographic that is overrepresented in these instances. And it's the very same demographic that never gets the same kind of coverage. It's only talked about if the person is not a white man, a cisgender white man. It's fucking ridiculous. Christians, does this go hard or is it blasphemy? Hey, how did you find my tattoo? You can be LGBT and pro and conflate shit. You're as divisive as the goddamn commies. Trans Netflix star Laverne Cox plans to hoard estrogen following Trump's victory. Says America will be just like Nazi Germany. Trans my whole life. Post-operation. Back Trump 100%. Love America. They don't stand for me. They don't speak for me. Fuck these commie assholes. That's okay. Trump will have his own Rushmore. I call it Trumpmore. Real Republicans, real MAGA, December 18th, 2025. American flag, American flag, American flag, American flag, MAGA. April 9th, 2025. We're pro-labor, pro-union, and pro-MAGA in my shop. Stop it. February 7th, 2025. There you go. Yeah, was there evidence that she was a Nazi? Oh, wait. Yes, there is. It's fucking insane, man. It's right in your face. You're choosing to look at the fact that they were trans.